Were late fees subtracted out for the payments made into court escrow?
She was late every time it was paid.
Why can't I just get an answer to my question?
They would send you the bill anyway. You could always go online. You can look it up.
I just was concerned, that's all, sir.
But why was it important for you to change the name?
I thought I needed to be responsible for it, that's all. I just wanted to make sure I got the.
You're the homeowner. Calls the case of Anderson versus Lyman. Matters being called.
Apologize for that interruption.
Not a problem. State your appearance, please.
Good morning, Edward Mall, MAHL P27115, attorney for the plaintiff.
All right, where are we on these cases?
Good morning, Joseph. My furnace had went out this morning. Not only did my furnace go out, Lori showed up to my house last month and had some guy walk around the back. But when he saw the camera, he ended up leaving.
What?
When the guy she had moved to the house saw the camera, he ended up leaving. And she's still sending falsified information about the case to the water,
To who?
the water department.
So somebody last week showed up to your house?
No, that's a video of him walking around the house.
Did you send somebody to the premises?
No, certainly did not.
She was in the car. You can see
Send
it in
it.
the
She
video.
was what?
She was in the car. You can see it in the video.
And Miss Anderson, you're indicating you didn't send anybody? So she had a video of that would,
I didn't send anybody to the house.
were you at the house? Were you in a car near the house?
And about a month and a half ago, I think I drove by one time, but I didn't drive to the house. I think I just.
Was the car sitting there, ma'am?
Yeah, the car was sitting out front.
No.
They pulled up a little bit.
Out front of
The
the
house. They tried to get out the view of the camera. And then he proceeded to look at the camera. And then he walked around the house and he seen the camera and then he went back to the car and they pulled up. So he didn't finish walking around the house because he seen the camera.
You have that video
Yes, it's in my camera roll.
on your phone?
Yes.
Did you bring your phone in?
Yes.
Okay. Can you send it to the court if I gave you an email?
Yes.
You know how to do that? And also you might need to send a copy to. These are all non-payment of rent cases, both of these.
There's a lot of issues, but we're slimming it down to non-payment of rent this morning.
Well, from plaintiff's position, what is plaintiff's claim in, I guess, either one of these cases?
Well, at this point, we are concentrating on rent. There's been only, how many months, 2 months paid? Only 2 months of rent paid.
So how much are you claiming is owed? How much do you have in this room there?
This includes water, because there's $1,900, more than $1,900 due for water bill for water that's left on. The balance is $15,899.39.
15,000.
$899.39. That gives her credit for the escrow that's with the court of $6,600. 2 payments of escrow have been made only.
She's claiming over 21,000 owing?
Yeah, she figures $22,499.39 is the balance. When I say she, I mean Miss Anderson.
And how much did you spend?
66.
Servants. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. I know that.
So what months is she claiming rent for?
All the months after, well, she has not paid anything since the first the 2 months, May and June. She owes the rent from
So
July.
you're claiming for July?
Yes. August, September, October, November, and December. Not, yes. Okay, don't. into the court.
You paid
I know-
what?
We know that.
I paid those months.
Where?
Talking about July and all that, I paid that.
Yeah, July and August have been paid. They're escrow. They're in escrow now. September, October, November, and December.
Just a second, Council. So you're looking at 6 months, basically, right?
Yes, 6 months have not been paid to us. 2 months have been paid into the court. So this is 4 months owed.
3,300. So, Ms. Lyman, I'm a bit confused because when we appeared here before, you had indicated that you were going to pay the rent into court escrow, and I don't have anything. I only have 2 months in escrow. How much did you pay in escrow this morning?
I paid that 2270 that I said I was gonna pay.
2270.
Yes.
What's this? That's still, but that's not, your monthly rent is 33.
Yes, remember when I told you how I broke it down for the prorated amount? And that's what I came out to when we were here last time.
Okay, but if that paid, so here's my question. If I have in escrow July, we'll just call it July and August because those are the latest ones.
And I paid September this morning.
Okay. And then if that's, well, that's a 2270.
Mhm.
Yes, all right. So without going into even at this point, the difference between the two.
I'm only 2 months behind.
Okay,
Oh.
but where is the 2 months?
I don't have it right now. I was planning on paying at the end of the month.
I don't see how the 2270 pays at September either. And she's prorated it, but prorated, what does it mean? It's prorated. The entire amount is owed.
I didn't get it prorated.
I understand that, Council. What did I just say? So you don't have October, November, or December at this point.
The rest I was thinking, was planning to pay at the end of this month.
What do you mean?
Like to pay the rest off at the end of this month.
So basically 9,900?
No, it should only been about 7,000.
Why would it be 7,000? Your monthly rent is 3,300.
Yes, only these couple months, I thought it should have been 7,650. I thought that was all.
Mm-mm.
You know, we've got a
There's
copy of,
6 months that's owed. Okay, I have 2 months in escrow. Right? So now I'm dealing with basically 4 months. You paid 2270. Again, I'm not going to get into necessarily why you got to that figure. I'll deal with that. I know what I have. But then when I look at October, November, and December, I have nothing.
Yes, because I didn't pay October, November, and then we're just getting to December.
Well, okay. So you're the two, at this point though, there's 9,900 that's owed at a minimum into court escrow. Right? What you say?
I suppose so, yes. Because I'm confused because I paid her May and I paid June when we first started.
The only thing I'm looking at right now is July through December. I'm looking at those 6 months. And if I'm looking at those 6 months, I have 2 and a partial.
Partial is in September.
The 2270 that you paid today. Basically a partial for September. Follow me?
Yes, I get what she's saying. I thought when I had mentioned the overpaid amount that I paid in June and the extra the extra $300 and how much it would have been 533 to be prorated. That's how I came up with that 2267. Because I only owe 3 months of rent, including December. That's
I don't know where this proration you have is coming from. Where you're taking monies off for September.
because in May I didn't get prorated at all. In May.
Pardon?
I didn't get prorated at all in May when I moved.
When you moved in.
Yes,
You moved in on what day?
on the 5th.
But your lease started what day?
We should have started on the 5th.
On the 5th. And runs through what?
The 5th of next September. Don't really think it.
I have a copy of the lease, Your Honor. It starts May 5, 2025. It ends May 4, 2027
May 4th.
of 2027. I have a copy of the, you have got it, okay.
So you follow that, ma'am?
Yes.
So there would not be a proration
How come?
because you would have 4 days in essence at the end of your lease. If your lease ended on the 30th or 31st of a month, I could see and get your argument about the 5 days because you didn't live there those first 5 days. But the way your lease runs, it runs from the 5th, but ends on the 4th of whatever month. So you get all your time. It's just not on the calendar month, basically.
I would remind the defendant that she's ignoring the water bill that's 1,900.
Why are you dealing with that right now? Did I ask you about it?
I brought it up
Did
because
you
she's
need
not,
to remind her of it?
just a reminder of it, yes.
Why?
She's not
I'm
talking.
trying to deal with something right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You follow that, Ms. Lyman?
Yes.
So give me a total of 66 plus 2270. 8,870. All right. Yes, ma'am.
I can pay the 533 today for the 5 days.
Say again.
The 533, I can pay that today for the 5 days.
So basically you can make September whole.
Yes.
All right. But what about the other 3 months and why aren't those paid into court escrow?
I got behind. A lot of family stuff had happened, so I had got behind. My plan was to pay those at the end of this month. Into this.
Are you still up?
It says it's still. Because I paid a.
Hold on a second. That shouldn't have happened. Are you sure? We're still going. Say again?
No, because I was talking about the extra 200 that I paid in June and plus the 300 I was supposed to be getting back that 533. $300 from the deposit.
For what?
When I overpaid in June, I paid $200 in June and then the $300 from the deposit. that I was supposed to get back.
The 300 from the cleaning deposit?
No,
Or
it was for
the what?
moving in.
Your Honor, if I could explain, there's a security deposit. It was determined by the plaintiff that the security deposit was $300 too much based on the guidelines in this state of Michigan statutes. So she gave her a $300 credit, and it's shown on this ledger.
For June.
It's shown on the ledger for the total balance. It's from the balance. The balance, it's part of the number that
But
is
what
taken
month
into
does she
account.
give the credit for? Because
It's not for a particular month. It's just on account. She's saying it's for a particular month. We're saying it's on account.
well, it's got to be for a particular it's when was the security paid?
May security, but it was paid in May.
So if she overpaid the security, that means it's credited toward May rent. Gotta be.
All right, then we have it credited to her on the account, whether it's whatever month it's applied for. She's gotten that credit. It's shown on this ledger.
When did I get the credit? Because nobody told me. He just told that she was supposed to give me the $300 back.
Say,
In June, I overpaid $200 as well.
I get what you're saying, that there was an overpayment in June. But how much did she pay in June? Just
30, she paid $3,300 in June.
3,300?
The rent, and she paid a late fee for June.
Oh, late fee. Okay.
How much is the late fee?
At the time she paid,
How much is the late fee?
the late fee is $150, but I think she may have paid $250. I don't have those records with me. She just put it in my account automatically. She just-
Council has a ledger sheet in front of it. Does that ledger sheet reflect that overpay?
It doesn't. It reflects a charge of $150 for a late fee.
But she said she paid 200 and
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Oh.
She directly deposited the funds into my checking account. She didn't give me in, she put an extra $250 in the account for June. She directly deposited into my account.
Okay, I don't care how it got there. Is the ledger sheet that council has, does it reflect that that payment was made?
No, because the letter sheet was just from July forward.
Why isn't there a ledger back to the beginning of her tenancy? Or if it's just from July forward, why doesn't it reflect? Does it give a credit at the beginning?
She's entitled to a credit of $100 for June.
If I paid,
How do I get $100 when that's not what Ms. Anderson just said?
She paid $250 for a late charge. Is that what? Okay, she should have paid $150. So
She didn't give.
Okay, does the ledger that I have, that you have, counsel, does it reflect that credit?
no,
Why not?
my client compiled this from the date at which the date at which the rent was not paid. So
So there isn't a concurrent ledger that's kept?
Well, last time we were
Something that
here-
was made up afterwards?
go ahead and explain when you prepared this one.
I prepared this ledger for, I didn't know I was supposed to prepare it for the previous month. I just prepared it for July.
Why doesn't her account have a ledger? Why isn't there a ledger that reflects payments on this tenancy? What was the answer to that?
I just didn't prepare a ledger before. I didn't know I was supposed to. Their ledgers for the court escrow.
So how do I find out what she paid in May?
Because
How do I find out what she paid in May?
I can compare what ledger. Those are.
But where is that coming from? I don't,
Your bank account show the payments that you received.
Yes, my
Okay.
bank account shows it.
so. And so if that ledger starts out in July, this one that's been created, it doesn't show a credit.
For the $300 overpayment for the
June.
security deposit and the $100 overpayment for the, so we need.
But you showed.
So I guess what I'm saying is, why come July? If that ledger's to be believed, do I not have a $400 credit, which means that for July, she should have only paid 19 or 2,900?
We have a $300 credit on the ledger. We just are missing the $100 credit.
Oh, that's
So we're
missing.
missing the $100.
No. You have it at some point on that ledger, right? But if you created a ledger that accurately reflects this tenancy, that means her opening balance that she would have owed as of July 1 would have been $2,900.
Yeah, but
Yes.
yeah,
That's right.
so I can,
And so council, the 19, no, the amount you gave me of the 22,499.39, I think it is. Did that reflect $100?
No, I did not know about that. So it's 22,399.39 minus the escrow.
How much did she pay in security deposit?
The 525 plus the 750.
And where is that being held?
in my name,
In what?
in my name.
Is it in a separate account?
Yeah, can I explain something?
No,
It's just-
answer my question.
Yeah, yes.
Where's it being held was the question.
Oh, Chase Bank.
In a separate account.
Since then I've moved.
Is it in a separate account? Has it been in a separate account from the beginning?
No, because I actually moved everything over to LMC.
So I don't know where her security deposit is.
You said it's a Chase or it's been moved
It's
to,
to I actually closed the Chase account down now, and it's my LMC account.
what is LMC?
It's a like Michigan credit. It's just that I was getting charged too much.
Okay, just tell it, Judge, where it is. What
Yeah.
bank is it?
LMC,
What is LMC?
it's like Michigan. credit.
Did you notify the tenant that that's where the security is being held?
No, because no, sir.
Is it in a separate account at this new institution?
No, sir.
It's just commingled with your account?
It's actually the savings account, so it's, I don't,
Is it commingled with your savings account?
no, I have a separate savings account and I have a separate check account.
Let's try the question again. Is it in a separate account that delineates it as a security? So it's in your savings or checking account?
Yes.
It's commingled with your funds?
Yeah, but I don't spend.
It's commingled with your funds.
Yes.
Did you send that?
Yeah, I sent it.
Who'd you send it to?
I sent it to the district court.
Oh. They gotta pull it for me. That's all right. We'll get here.
Oh,
Well, tell Ann, please. So, Ms. Lyman, how much are you counterclaiming for?
Have
Half of what?
escrow amounts that I paid in escrow.
I'm sorry?
At least half of the amounts that I have paid in escrow.
All right, and on what basis are you claiming that that money should be paid to you?
What do you mean by that? Like, why?
Meaning, why should I give that to you?
Because I haven't been able to live peaceful.
So interference with your,
My peace,
all right.
my mental,
Any other reason?
mentally, emotionally, just the stress.
All right, but this is a contractual case, so some of those damages aren't there. But you're basically claiming an interference with quiet, useful enjoyment of the premises.
Yeah.
All right. And how much is the plaintiff claiming in additional water?
The water bill is 19, this is just for May 5th to December 8th, is 1915.80.
1915,
Yep, 80.
80?
And the water bill, I had a payment plan. I had a plan figured out. And when I called, they said she called and took the water out my name, put it in hers and paid it. And then I sent the
Did
email
you
about
do that?
what happened was.
No.
Yes,
Did you do
yes,
that?
because he said it would go to my tax bill. She didn't accept the plan by that date, the 13th of October, which she did not. I have the manager of the utility company said she did not do that. And so I came in personally and set it up and paid it with borrowed funds so that it wouldn't go.
I don't care where the funds came from, you paid it.
Yes, so it wouldn't go on my tax bill because that's what they do. They don't.
I understand what they do. I didn't ask all that.
I just was protecting myself.
So the water bill's been paid.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a receipt for the amount paid on the water bill?
Yes, sir.
when I talked to Landis.
There's been 3 bills.
We have one bill here.
We submitted everything to the court.
Well, we don't have it right now. It's one bill.
$13,1583.
Yes.
We'll just show that to Simon.
Okay. All right. It's okay. It's okay. Okay.
All right. Ms. Lyman, you saw that water bill?
Yes.
Okay. And that was the amount you were going to set up a payment plan.
Yes, that's right. When I called to set up, they said like an hour and a half or an hour. She had called in, took the bill out of my name and put it in hers and paid it. And then when I emailed about it, she had said, "Oh, well, you can just pay me now." That's what she said.
Okay, but you're not disputing that that's a water bill you would have had to pay.
Yeah, that's what I would have to pay.
You would have had to pay that 13. Yeah, you would have had to pay it anyway. You were just going to do it a different way with the township.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're not disputing the figure.
No, that's the amount that I got billed for. I had a payment plan worked out where I was just going to pay it over time, not all in full at once.
Where's the email that says that it was going to go to your taxes if it wasn't paid or an arrangement not made?
I can get an email from, the town.
I don't, you said there was one.
I have an email from the gentleman. I emailed it to the court. I CC'd the court, it's in the court record.
It doesn't immediately go on your taxes in any event.
They said.
It doesn't immediately go on your taxes. I know how it works.
I didn't work, I didn't want to- so I paid it.
She took it.
So why did you take it out of her name?
This is from Cindy Roberts.
Why did you take it out of her name?
Because I had to pay it on the 13th.
But you could have paid it and it stayed in her name. Why'd you take it out of her name?
I put it back in her name, but I just had to pay it.
That isn't an answer to my question. On the day you went in to pay it, you're telling me that you paid it because you were worried that it was going to go on your taxes.
That's what. Cindy
Okay,
Roberts-
that's fine. It doesn't quite work that way, but that's fine. But then the question becomes, why'd you take the water bill out of her name?
Because I wanted to be responsible, so I wouldn't get behind.
But that's not what the lease says, does it?
It says it could be, the lease says it could be paid by me and she reimbursed me. You know, so I was just gonna give her the benefit.
Why was it put in her name in the first place?
I was giving her the option of being able.
Why was it put in her name in the first place?
They told me at the township that it could be put in her name if I wanted it.
Okay, so then it's put into her name. So then it comes down to this date. Why do you change the name on it?
On the 13th, they said if the water bill was due, it wasn't paid. I came at like 2:00 and they closed it.
Why did you change the name?
Because I wanted to be responsible for paying the water. I didn't want it to get behind again.
And so you couldn't be responsible without changing the name?
I could put it back in her name.
That's not what I said. You're telling me that you had to change the name so that you could be responsible for it.
So they could send me the bills and I can keep up with it and pay the water bill.
They would send you the bill anyway. You could always go online. You can look it up.
I just was concerned. That's all, sir.
But why was it important for you to change the name?
I thought I needed to be responsible for it. That's all. I just wanted to make sure I got the.
You're the homeowner.
Well, maybe I didn't know. I just did the best I could.
No, you did that to harass her. Because you could have paid that bill. At any given point, you can go right online and pay that bill.
Well, I thought
They don't care who's it's coming from. That money is there. It's there.
the lease says that I can pay the water and she would reimburse me. I was just giving her an opportunity to put it in her name.
It was already in her name.
Not from the very beginning. It's in my name. It's a deal.
Was it in her name?
Not in May when she moved in. I put it in her.
That was the first month.
I let her.
In June, was it in her name?
No,
July,
no.
August,
I let her put it in August.
September,
Yes.
October.
Going to recollection. I think I took it out of her name in October. So I think I had it in her name 2 months.
Oh, goodness, why? Why'd you do that?
I just wanted to.
That was a question.
I was just trying to get it paid, so. All right.
You would agree with me, Miss Anderson, that you could pay that bill without changing the name.
Now.
You know, at the time you paid it, you didn't need to change the name, didn't you?
Do you want me to change it back, sir.
No, that's not what you knew at the time that you didn't have to change the name.
Did you know or did you not know that?
I didn't.
She said you didn't know that.
Okay, all right. Counselor, you gave me a number at the very beginning of 22,499,39, which has been changed to 22,399,39
Yes,
as the total rent.
yes.
All right.
Not counting escrow.
Right, not counting the escrow.
Right.
When you gave me 33 times 6, you gave me 1,900. So just so that I'm counsel, I'm not double counting. I get for the 6 months of rent, I get 19,800.
Let's see, 8, 1, 3, 6, 19,800. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's what I get for the 6
You don't have to
months.
point that out to me. I understand that. Okay. 19,800, that's correct for 6 months.
Okay, so what's our difference? When you gave me the 22, now 399, you gave me 22, basically 499. And then, but when I count the 6 months, I get 19,800. So I don't,
Okay, well, we also get 19,800 for 6 months, but we add to it the water bill of 1950 and 80.
gotcha. Okay.
And we get the court costs of 183.59, and we get late fees
183.59.
of $900.
Late fees of 900.
Yes, they're 150 per month.
Were late fees subtracted out for the payments made into court escrow?
She was late every time it was paid before.
Why can't I just get an answer to my question?
No, they were not taken into account in the money.
Thank you.
Money she paid to the escrow. She paid $3,300 twice.
So I want to be clear on this, Ms. Anderson, because Ms. Lyman is claiming, and throughout the course of this case, and counsel, you haven't been here while it's been going on. She's claiming interference with her possessory interest by you.
No, sir.
On the day that Ms. Lyman is claiming, before I go back and look at this tape, did you send a gentleman to the premises? Make sure you give me a correct answer.
That was your question? Okay.
Did I send a gentleman to the house? No. She said I was in the car.
You have also, to this court, indicated you were not in the car in front of the house. Is that correct?
Sitting in the car in front of the house? No, I drove by one time. Just to check on the house. I've driven by one time in 4 months. 4 months I've driven by one time.
He's not asking about that.
No, I was not in front of the house waiting for anything.
Do you know anything about the gentleman that came to the house and came around the back of the premises, as Ms. Lyman has indicated?
No.
Ms. Lyman, just to be clear, what date was that? November 10th.
At like 9 in the morning.
She has not.
not, she's asking. It was like the same outfit like on today. It was like a tannish, little pinkish color that you
Tannish.
like the hijab.
Okay. Give her Ann's email and have her send it.
It wasn't the first time that somebody had walked around the house. She sent, I believe, her contractor before it all.
A lot of Muslim women in the neighborhood, a lot of women wear jobs in our neighborhood.
And what's your argument in terms of the interference with her possessory interest?
There's been no facts presented other than this person who walked to the back of their house about interference with her possessory interests.
Okay, so that, and I hear you, counsel, but can I just say that? And again, you weren't here when that other case, and when I was coming back to you by decision, actually, she's put forth other claims of where your client has gone to the house. This one that she put forth today is one that wasn't included in that.
Well, I know that you were not again. What the heck? I'm sorry.
The only time I was at the house was when he was court ordered. I haven't been at the house since. I don't go to the house.
Oh, okay, all right. There was a court. I know that there was a court ordered inspection of the
Yes,
house, and she was
because there had been problems with coming to the premises and then claims that she wasn't able to get in.
right. You were here. You were there at the inspection, right?
Yes.
Okay, she was there at the inspection.
Correct.
Me and I.
Okay.
I haven't been specs,
You've not been there other than.
other than driving by.
Oh, you already talked about driving by.
Yeah, just to make sure the house is still there.
There was not. You've not been on the premises
No,
except for
Have
that
you
inspection.
sent others on the premises?
no.
You've not authorized anybody to be on the premises, Miss Anderson?
No, I don't even know if it's still there. I drive by every now and again to make sure it's still there. But I don't.
Okay, you already said that. Okay.
I'm gonna say, counsel, that, and again, you're at a slight disadvantage that doesn't quite fit with what's been presented to the court previously. So, all right, you sent that video.
Yes, I sent.
All right, so Ann has it.
She said she'll let us know when she receives it.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand in recess, and counsel, I think we have your email.
I don't think so.
No, we don't.
I'll give this lady.
So
Yeah.
why don't you give it to her? And then what I'll do is I'm going to take a recess. When it comes through to us, we will send it right to you, counsel.
I'd appreciate that.
Because that way I know it will go to your phone because you've been answering it all. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Spam calls that are spam.
No, it's okay. I understand. Our court's going to stand in recess. Everybody can be.
Somebody. Thank you.
The court has had an opportunity to review the videos and submitted by the defendant. Is there anything that plaintiff wants to say regarding those?
We know nothing about the person being there. We don't recognize the person or the car.
And Ms. Lyman, how are you so sure that it was Ms. Anderson there?
The guy, he was there before by himself taking pictures inside of the basement. And then
He was what?
there before taking pictures inside of the basement. And then this time,
What do you mean so I recall the issue regarding the basement. You're saying this guy entered the home.
no, he didn't come in. That's who was taking pictures outside in the window. Like through the basement window.
That you had talked about before.
And then I seen her, that's why the hand was up when the car had came back past.
So Your testimony is you saw Miss Anderson in the vehicle.
Yes.
On the, what would have been the third video that the court received.
It was the guy coming back around from the back of the house after he seen the camera.
Well, no, I think I may have received them in a different order. But the last one I had was actually, it looked like the back of the premises and there was a deck.
Yeah.
That, the camera, the deck I'm seeing, is that the deck that's attached to the premises you rent?
Yes.
Okay. And Miss Anderson, you're indicating that you know nothing about that individual. Miss Lyman, you're sure that that's the individual that was taking pictures inside the premises?
Yes.
I never.
They
seen
never
anyone
came inside. They were just taking a picture from outside in the basement.
Right, right. What were you going to say, Miss Anderson? I want to give everybody an opportunity to say what they're going to say.
I never sent anybody to take pictures of the basement. You said you let somebody in to take pictures of the basement. I never sent
No,
anybody.
she didn't let someone in. He stood outside and took pictures.
I didn't send it.
Anything else additional from either side before the court rules?
Not from plaintiff.
Anything else, Miss Lyman, you want to tell the court?
No, I'm just trying to make sure that the only thing that I have left to pay is the last 3 months, which is the 9,900. Correct.
Well, okay. I'm gonna do it this way. Anything else you want to say? And I'll let you know what you have to pay.
No, not really. I just don't think I should be responsible for court costs, just because when we started coming in, the rent was already paid. And yeah, about the water bill, I don't really feel like I should be responsible. Just she took it out my name, paid it herself. But if I have to, I will. Just
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna render my decision, and I'm gonna do it this way. The original case that was filed, which is, and let me just get it. It's 25-1C-2176. And that's the one that I'm going to render the decision on. One seven six. All right. And the court has throughout this entire thing, first of all, reviewed all of the documents presented by the parties in detail. And frankly, am unsure, except as to really what is animosity between these parties as to why there is so much stuff here. And from the perspective of the plaintiff, I would just indicate that many of the allegations made by the plaintiff regarding her need to get into the premises, certain things that need to be looked at, and all of those things, quite honestly, the court views as just some pretext to interfere with the possession by Ms. Lyman. There wasn't a need. We went through, and just by way of example, we went through a whole series of hearings regarding the looking at something in the basement of something that potentially could occur that she wanted to get in the house. But Miss Anderson was really letting her true motivations be known, because every time she would indicate that she needs to look in to make sure that the premises are in some way damaged. And there was no indication whatsoever that Ms. Lyman had done that. She was then at another previous point, accusing Ms. Lyman of not being the actual tenant, going so much to the extreme of asking the court to tell her to turn on the camera because that wasn't the person that she rented from and that she was dealing with somebody else. Every hearing, the person that's been appearing has been Ms. Lyman, this Ms. Lyman that I see here today. No one else has appeared. It also seems a bit disingenuous for the plaintiff to say that because there would have been in-person contact prior to the rental in which she rented to Miss Lyman, and the like. Miss Lyman may have had people there. She may have had other things, but Miss Lyman has been the one here and been the one taking responsibility for that. So I don't think that Miss Anderson, frankly, I'll just be blunt about it. I think she wants to have control of everything, including Miss Lyman, what Miss Lyman's doing, who Miss Lyman has there, and the like. And none of it makes much sense to me. If she wanted to inspect for damages mid-lease, then inspect for damages mid-lease. But she came in here accusing Ms. Lyman of fraud. That has not been substantiated in any way whatsoever, that Ms. Lyman was somehow fraudulently renting the premises. It was just said that that was it, and that it wasn't Ms. Lyman. And, you know, and just over and over doing that. And I don't know why Miss Anderson wanted to do what she was doing, but it just throughout the course of these proceedings and hearing after hearing, just this sort of berating of the tenant, saying that she wasn't doing something, just continued. While I've heard what Ms. Lyman has said and said through counsel about not knowing that person in that vehicle, I am having a very difficult time believing that to be the case, because there were people coming, testified by Ms. Lyman before, that there were people coming to the premises, all coinciding with Ms. Anderson wanting to get in. Frankly, if this were just a simple issue, and it should be, and that's how the court's going to view this case, it's a simple issue. This is a non-payment case. That's all that it is. There has been no proof whatsoever presented to the court that Ms. Lyman has damaged the premises, is causing any waste or destruction of those premises, or is in any way abusing the premises or violating any terms and conditions of release. But what I do think is that she's been harassed by Ms. Anderson. And while it may not seem much, when the water bill was coming out, and that kind of popped into this case at some point, she was even in court berating the defendant about paying the water bill. Now, certainly the water bill should be paid, and there are just different ways that landlords go about doing that. But she just continued to go after Ms. Anderson about paying the water bill. Kept saying the water bill was somewhere around $1,800. The only bill that I've received today is for $1,315.83. She claims that there are these other payments. I don't know that to be the case. But that's all I have in terms of the water bill, is the $1,315.83. I then have, in terms of rent not paid, and I think it was explained to Ms. Lyman that the rental period starting on the 5th, but her lease doesn't end till the 4th day of the end of the term, is that 30-day or month period. So it's not like she's being shorted. She's not entitled to any type of credit for that. But as it regards the rent on the premises, there's a total amount of $19,800 owing in rent. So when I take that and the water bill together, which the water was supposed to be paid by Miss Lyman, I come up with a total amount of 21,115 or $21,115 that is owed by Miss Lyman. Now, I've not made any deductions for what's been paid in at this point. That would be the aggregate amount due. I am concerned that there are then these additional late fees added on. And late fees should not have been charged for the defendant. Whether she paid it to the court late, there are remedies for a landlord. And let me just put it this way. That's part of the problem, is that Miss Anderson tries to make her own rules. And she was paying escrow to the court and should not have then been charged late fees. Miss Anderson's justification, as she blurted out, as she typically does, was that she paid the rent late to the court, so therefore she's entitled to a late fee. Not the way it works. The landlord has certain remedies if she were late paid to the court, which, quite frankly, Miss Anderson has been able to take advantage of with the whole start of the trial in this proceeding by an immediate trial. But it doesn't give you a right to a money judgment, but gives you a right to an immediate trial. There are those things, but the late fee, not going to do it. So claiming some $900 in late fees, I'm going to take off, because that's what's been paid into escrow. So $300 comes off of that. So of late fees, there is only $600 for late fees instead of the $9 that's claimed. Now, the other problem that I have is that I don't know where Miss Lyman's security deposit is. I can't get a straight answer. What I know is it apparently is commingled with the funds of the plaintiff. It's absolutely inappropriate under our statutes and should be held in a separate account, for which Ms. Lyman, because it was really her money that the landlord is holding, has to be notified as to where it is, the financial institution and the like. That is a clear violation of the law in the way that Ms. Anderson is conducting her business. I also don't know that her counting is all correct, because there were certain numbers that had to come off and come on, and somehow the notice that was sent on this case would have been incorrect. The notice that was sent to the tenant regarding the amount she owed would have been incorrect, because there was at least the $100 credit, and then presumably other credits that went to the tenant. Credits of, and I say it this way because it's money that she's paid. It doesn't necessarily change the bottom line, but it's certainly money that she's paid. And Ms. Anderson knew or should know that she's received the funds from Ms. Lyman. But somehow or another, Ms. Lyman has to get herself here to explain to the court that I made these payments. There isn't a ledger, in the sense of a ledger, of her payments each month, because apparently Ms. Anderson believes she didn't have to keep a ledger, an account ledger until the time that she filed the notice, or until, actually what she said is until she paid into escrow. I don't even know where that comes from. That doesn't even make any sense. And certainly it's not a sound business practice by any stretch of the imagination. So what I have is, I have, with late fees, rent, and water, I have the tenant owing $21,715. She has posted, and counsel, remind me, what were your costs that you were claiming?
Costs are $183.59.
Okay. And while Ms. Lyman doesn't believe that she didn't have the cost because rent was paid, I don't find that necessarily to be the case. I think the original case could have been filed. But it just wasn't. I mean, it could have been filed. It was filed. I'm not even clear when I look at everything that it needed to be filed. As it seems to me that for the most part, Ms. Lyman finds a way to get herself ultimately paid in full. And I'm gonna say this way. I think Miss Anderson was trying to harass Miss Lyman. I've said it in the regard to how she handled her tenancy. But I also think, and this was not certainly counsel's doing, but there's a case that was pending before the court that the court was coming back to render a decision on. And for some inexplicable reason, Ms. Anderson files a new case that then gets served on Ms. Lyman as, frankly, as the court interprets it, is just an added attempt to try to pressure Ms. Lyman to pay. The court never got a straight answer as to why this was even filed. But I just find it odd because also, and falsely, at least based upon what's been claimed here, in that complaint, she alleged $1,500 water bill, which supposedly was due October 6th. Now, I've never seen a rounded off water bill. I'm sure it exists someplace, but I've never seen one like that. And that's what she put on there. And again, I think it was just an attempt to try to pressure Ms. Lyman into doing something that maybe she was entitled to. But again, I could never get a straight answer as to why this next case was even filed. It made no sense to me whatsoever. This action was already pending. And again, it just made no sense whatsoever from the court standpoint that it was filed. Because of all of the harassment, I think intentional interference with Miss Lyman's quiet and peaceful enjoyment of the premises, what the court is going to do is the court is going to award on her counterclaim on that $1,700 to her. That would bring the plaintiff's judgment to a total amount of $20,015 plus the
183.59. And counsel, I just want to make sure. Which case are you getting your cost from? Because is that the new filing or the old filing fee?
He became involved in this case. I mean, in his proceedings after the second case was filed.
Correct. So that I just want to make sure those are the costs you're giving me is from the second.
Well, no, actually, her figure is the cost come from the first case. Is that right?
I was combining.
She was combining them.
Pardon?
She was combining the two cases.
It was the first case. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. But we'll just take this filing fee and the service fee and filing fee was what, $7,500?
No, well, here's the problem. On the first case, I have a filing fee of 130 and a 55 filing fee on the second case.
Okay.
I have a service fee on the first case of 32.30, as well as 32.30 and 32.20, respectively, between the cases.
32.30, 32.30
yeah.
and 32.20.
So, yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. The only cost I'm going to award, counsel, is I'm just going to award the lower of them. And so I'm just going to award 87.20 in cost.
Okay.
Because and again, it's on a case that should have never been filed, but that's the way I'm going to do that. And that would make the total judgment to the plaintiff. If they have me do math here, but 0, 1. I get $20,102.20 is the total judgment amount. And this is I am $20,120
$20.
or 20102.20.
All right. Okay.
And then Ms. Lyman has posted into escrow, subtract off of this $8,870.
May I ask, has the court determined that that is the correct figure? Because it was 66 when I came in this morning.
There were 66, and then there was another. I had determined that there was
Okay.
2,000. Yeah, posted.
Okay.
Ms. Lyman, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, because that doesn't seem right to me. If I only owe the last 3 months, that's $9,900. With the water bill, that should only be $11,000. And then
11,000. Correct. You know what? I know part of what. So here's what I did. I'm only going to. So the total figure that I came through with rent, water, and late that we just went through is $21,015. Okay. I'm awarding them cost of, let's say,
87.20.
187.20. Would then bring the total amount of their judgment amount up to $21,802.20.
so even in the prior proceeding, when she said she wasn't counting,
I only gave late fees for 4 of those months.
even though that she had said before.
I understand what she said, but under the lease, she's entitled to.
Even if she said it, or even if it's on recording that she said it.
So how many times do you think you're going to answer the question and get a different answer from me? Well, I think I'm pretty clear in what I said.
And then I'm gonna subtract out from that figure the $8,870.
Which gives you 12,920,
12,920.
32.
All right. So after the escrow is released to the plaintiff, that would lead to a judgment of $12,932.20.
Even though half of those months I've been harassed.
You need to listen to everything I said. I gave you a credit of the total amount of $1,700. That is for the harassment that you received. Really what is interference with your possessory interest to the extent it was interfered with. I gave a $1,700, which I will tell you historically is a large amount for that type of claim from this court. But I think that,
Does that need to come up with that?
no, I already took it out here. Okay. So I gave you credit against that amount because this number would be a lot higher otherwise. Right? It is nowhere near the figure that we started out with of the 22, almost 22 and a half that would have been owed, which would have then gotten us somewhere in some bizarre like neighborhood. All right. But basically, if you look at it, Ms. Lyman, effectively, it's going to be the cost, the water bill, and the 3 months of rent plus what's owed on September rent. That's going to comprise that amount.
All right, we will prepare.
All right. So it's the total amount is $12,932.20. Ma'am, I know that you were looking at getting everything paid by the end of the month. How long is it going to take you to come up with that? But you were looking at the 90,
I was looking at the
99, basically 10.
Okay, so I have to pay the water bill in whole instead of paying it in smart increments like I was gonna do with the water company?
Yes. That was also part of the calculation that went in with the 17.
Right, but I'm saying,
Because I think she interfered with your ability to have a payment plan for the water.
so I can't do, the water bill.
Excuse me?
No, I'm saying I can't do the water bill in a payment plan?
She paid the water bill. You're supposed to pay that water bill as it becomes due. I understand what you were trying to do. Again, in the 1,700 that went into my calculation because and I'm not going to even ask because I don't get a straight answer as to why she did that, took it out of your name and the like. But I've taken all of that into account. And so now I'm asking you, and because I also understand that if the water bill were out of the mix, you would basically have around a little over 10,000 that would be due. So let me ask you this. Because you got about 13,000 that you got to pay. How are you going to get that paid? Because you're going to be coming up on January rent also, but this isn't included in this. Let me just ask you this. How much time are you going to need to get this paid?
A little after June,
Pardon?
a little after June.
Like, what does that mean?
Last week of January, February.
I can't give you that long because you're going to have January rent coming in. You follow me? I mean, you're going to have that next 3,300 clicking in, which is going to kick this figure out. And Ms. Lyman, so that you also understand sort of the time frame that I'm working on, so you've got that coming up. But also, today's what, the 9th? So the normal rent date in this case would be the 19th to pay it. But I heard what you said to me about when you were gonna get the rest of that. There you go. Here's what I'm gonna do. All right. Listening to what you said, the order of eviction date on this matter will be January 5th, 2026. So we need, that amount would need to be paid by that date. Now, so that, and I'm gonna say this directly to you, Miss Anderson, the monies that come in must be applied to the judgment. So if she paid $3,300 and the judgment is still outstanding, applied to the judgment. You can't just say I've taken it as January and she still owes me this. It may be that if she gets that money all by that amount paid and it hasn't paid January rent at that moment, you're gonna have to start over on another case. Am I clear on that? Am I clear on it? This is just simple math. Any monies that come in must be applied to the judgment. Don't come back in here having accepted 3,300 saying you're applying it elsewhere.
We understand that, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'll let your attorney explain that to you.
There's one point at the conclusion of this case. What is it that?
The 2 pen drives.
Yeah, she said the court has 2 pin drives that she'd like back.
You know what? She's been bugging me about those things, specifically direct to the court of motion of what she would like returned. And I will look at it, but nothing is going to be returned until the appeal period expires.
I have one other question. Do we prepare the judgment or does the court prepare the judgment?
I'll let you do it. All right, thank you.
I'll talk to you.
Thank you. And Ms. Lyman, make sure you get a copy. At some point, they'll prepare the judgment. I'll sign off on it. Make sure you have a copy of it. Come up to the court, get a copy of it. All right, thank you. That- So, all right, is everybody here on the explanation?
Yes, sir.
Everybody's here?
Mhm.
Okay, you guys have to give me a couple minutes. Otherwise, I'd find somebody to yell at. It'd probably be him, right? All right, Kurt's gonna stand in for you. No, I'd take her too. Kurt's gonna stand in for you.
Oh, Ross.